You're making one right decision today. You're listening to Handcuffs and Sage.
Three badass moms bringing you all the true crime and paranormal your heart desires.
I'm Red.
I'm Timo.
I'm Dre. And don't let your kids listen. Seriously, just don't.
Hey, it's Handcuffs and Sage! This is Red.
Hi, y'all. This is Timo.
Hey, this is Dre.
What up? Can you guys hear the music from outside? I can.
Oh, really? No, we can't hear it. That's good, though.
Excellent news. Excellent.
Yeah.
I have been thoroughly enjoying Wentworth on Netflix. And I think I brought this up with you guys. You guys thought it was a documentary.
Yeah,
right?
it was in the
So
car.
you didn't
Yeah.
check it out. It's not. But I just can't stop watching it. And I just want to go to prison now and just run that shit. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. So you said it's like Orange is the New Black, but like 2.0.
It's way better.
Okay, cool.
It's way better. It's
Okay,
fantastic.
because that show made me want to go to prison too, with like and be like Red. You know, Red. She was like the head of the I wanted to be her.
Well, they have a Red who like kind of runs the shit.
Oh,
and they
cool.
call her Queen Bey. And I want to be Queen Bey.
Nice.
So fitting.
I'm finishing the second season of Mindhunter because you totally got me watching that. The first two episodes was a snooze fest for me, and I'm like, oh no, how am I gonna get through this?
It's
then
good.
bam, holy moly. So as soon as I'm done with that, then I'll move on to Wentworth.
Yeah, I dig it. You can come to prison with me.
Okay. Okay.
We'll run that yard, bitch. Dre, you can't come to prison. You won't make it. You're too nice.
Yeah, I wouldn't. No, actually,
I know.
I'm nice, but
she would run that shit.
She's all ghetto, Cholita.
People wouldn't know she's running it, but she would. Okay, that's how that would go.
Yeah,
I am super stoked about what we're about to do for this episode.
OMG, you guys. OMG. I've been wanting to do this story forever, and it's because this is like one of my most favorite things ever, and it's like on my bucket list and everything, but it's true crime mostly, and I didn't want to step on Red's toes. So basically, when she mentioned she wanted to do something jointly crossovery for Halloween, I'm like, let's do this, and we are.
Party time.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys buckle up because we are doing Lizzie Borden. Woo!
I can't wait.
Bitch.
Oh, it's crazy.
Crazy bitch.
Crazy.
One of the best stories.
It is.
All right. Are you ready? Are we so excited?
Ready. Oh, before we start, can I tell you something real quick? I saw a movie on Netflix, so I'm going to tell you anyways. And I told Dre to watch it because it's a horror movie, and I don't know if you want to see it, Red, or not. But I
love horror movies.
Okay, cool. So it's called The Binding, and I just stumbled on it. I think it was like one of like, you watch this, so we recommend this, and I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. And I thought it was in Spanish at first, but no, it's in Italian. But there's subtitles and then it's dubbed in English. So you just watch their mouths say different things than whatever. But it's kind of like witchcrafty, and then it's kind of like a possession and kind of like real creepy. It's a really good movie. I totally recommend it. The Binding.
I will be watching that.
It's based on like an ancient thing that they used to do in Italy. Where they say you've been bound, and I guess that means like the evil eye, and someone put a curse on you. So it's like kind of like based on that, but then they take it to a whole nother level.
The
so
Binding.
That's
crazy. Check it out.
Yeah.
You know what's nuts, guys? I had a friend whose dad. This is like way like 20 years ago, right? Or more, actually like 30 years ago. Her dad was like cheating on the mom. Right. So she went to like a curandera, which is like, kind of like witchcrafty. Right. Yeah. And was like, this is what's happening. So I need to rein him in, So they did some kind of a spell or something, and they put his name on a piece of paper, and then they put it in a mason jar, and they put that shit in the refrigerator.
Okay.
Yeah. So they bound him somehow from doing anything that could affect their marriage. They cooled him down.
It cooled
cooled him
that
down.
dick down. You
Yeah.
didn't even want to use it. Okay.
Right?
You know
Yeah.
what? Maybe I'll do that with some peeps. Okay. I'll see if that
said-
works. Oh.
She said it worked. She said it worked. I don't know.
She saw his dick got real cold. I love it.
Interesting.
Witchcraft.
Right?
Okay.
Just a little bit.
What is that word again, Dre?
Curandera. It's like
A cunadera?
Curan. Curan.
Curan. Okay. What does that mean?
Mhm.
What does that
It's like
translate to?
Like someone who cures. It's like
Excellent.
a witchcraft. It's like, they dabble in the arts,
That's what I want to
They
be when I
stick their
grow up.
toe in the art water.
Mhm.
No, that can't be it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm sure we've all heard this, so I'm going to say it just for
Yes.
fun. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41.
Ooh, I love that so much.
And I
And
would like
they-
to stop there and say, bullshit. Bullshit.
They, that little rhyme, they've done it in so many different ways. They've done it like with little girls, like kind of like a ring around the rosy game, and then they've kind of said it like in a spooky way, and
Yeah.
It's fun. It's so much fun.
Oh, it's such a good time, but it's
Yeah.
not accurate at all.
No, it's not accurate at all. Yeah, no. I
All
wonder
right,
how they
so-
came up. I guess those numbers rhymed, I guess. So they just kind of threw those numbers in. That's so strange. But
They're just throwing numbers around. Obviously, an accountant didn't do this. They just made this shit up. But it's always fun to say, and it's Halloween time, so we're gonna have fun with it. So I'm gonna do the true crime part. So this true crime, this murder took place in Fall River, Massachusetts, and this is about 50 miles from Boston. Fall River was a textile community, and it was actually like a boom town in the late 1800s when this all took place. On August 4th, 1892, it obviously became infamous with the Borden murders. So this is crazy. Mm-hmm. The woman had 19 blows to the back of her head, and the man was found with 10 to 11. Obviously, not 40 whacks. So in my notes, I put bullshit, bullshit. The police almost immediately looked at Lizzie Borden, a 32-year-old daughter of Andrew Borden and stepdaughter to Abby Borden. The trial would rock the country, and obviously we still know all about it to this day, right? Everyone knows Lizzie Borden. Lizzie and her sister Emma were raised in a very religious home. Their father Andrew was very, very strict. Their mother Sarah had died in 1863, and 3 years later Andrew married their stepmother Abby. Lizzie did not hide how she felt about Abby. She was not a fan. She refused to call her anything motherly, mom, mother. She always called her Miss Borden.
Oh my God, that's so rude.
So effing rude. Andrew was very wealthy, but very frugal. He did still have help around the house. Their live-in maid was Bridget Sullivan, but Lizzie always called her Maggie. Why did Lizzie always call her Maggie? Because they had a former maid in the home named Maggie. And so when Bridget came to work there, she insisted on calling her Maggie.
I feel like, what a bitch.
Lizzie was quite the Karen, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Lizzie felt like Abby only married her father for his money. Okay, women don't do that. So I don't know what Lizzie's even talking about. That never happens.
Yep.
Andrew once gifted her aunt with a house. And this was very out of character for Andrew to do, especially since Abby's aunt wasn't related to Andrew. So this was a big deal that he did this. And Emma and Lizzie actually threw a huge fit that he went and did this. And it actually pays off. And Andrew ended up later selling their childhood home to the women for $1. That's a good deal.
Whoa.
Abby treated Emma and Lizzie like they were still children, even though they were full-grown women in their 30s living in the home still, and would have them do chores, and they would get in trouble for not making their beds.
Oh, my
Samesies.
I
goodness.
can't even imagine. Lizzie and Emma, despite their hatred of Abby, still lived in the home and were considered spinsters for the time, right? They didn't get married. They didn't have any prospects. They so were living in the home with them. So they were spinsters. And if you look up pictures of Emma and Lizzie, yes, full on level 10 spinsters. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Poor
Level 10.
girls.
Andrew had made his money in manufacturing and real estate development. He was frugal to a fault, though. The house did not even have indoor plumbing.
Gross.
And when I hear this, I think about being a woman, right?
Here we
Yeah.
go. Here we go.
Here we go. We know where she's going with this one.
Having a period, okay? And having to go outside every time to do this. And he could well have had indoor plumbing. That would have not been a problem for Andrew to have in his home. So that, I think that really gives you an idea of what Andrew was like. Andrew was very aggressive in business dealings, and he did have his fair share of enemies. He really did a lot of shady things, pushing people to sell certain properties at certain prices, right? So he really just manhandled everyone. And it was said that he was one of the least liked people in Fall River.
I see it. I see
Yes.
it. He's scary looking.
Yes. His net worth at that time was $450,000, which is $10 million today.
Whoa.
Right?
Okay.
That's
So
crazy.
if I had $10 million, I would definitely have indoor plumbing. Okay.
Yeah.
Lizzie would often skip dinners to avoid even being around Abby. She also tried to keep herself busy on the weekends. She really, really did not want to be around Abby. Lizzie taught Sunday school at Central Congregational Church. She was involved in the Christian Endeavor Society and the Women's Temperance Union. She was absolutely against the consumption of alcohol. She was very active, very religious woman. Okay. Also a level 10 spinster. I don't think Lizzie's a good time if we're all going to be real honest, but okay. About 24 hours before this infamous murder happened, Lizzie had gone into a grocer in the town and asked for Prozac acid. And the gentleman said, "Why are you looking for this? That's very dangerous stuff." And she said, "Well, I want to do a science experiment." And he said, "Well, then you need to go get your father, and he needs to give his approval
Oh my
for
God.
this." And I do want to remind everyone listening, she's in her 30s, but she has a hoo-ha and she must be confused.
Oh my goodness.
And for anyone wondering what Prozac acid is, it's hydrogen cyanide. This is one of the most lethal substances. This is crazy stuff that we don't want women ever playing with. Okay.
Right.
So she's actually turned away for this purchase. Doesn't give it to her. And about 24 hours is when Andrew and Abby would be murdered. Murdered. Okay.
Murdered.
Murdered. So about a week before the murders, the family felt very ill, and they were wondering if this was food poisoning, or as Abby had thought, they had been poisoned by one of the many people that were unhappy with Andrew. Okay, Abby was convinced that they had been poisoned. Months before the murders happened, Andrew had taken a hatchet to a ton of birds that were on their property that Lizzie had taken a liking to. She would go out and feed these birds, and she was being, somewhat motherly and nurturing to them. Andrew thought they were a nuisance, went out and killed them all with a hatchet, and Lizzie was very, very upset that this happened. And this happened months before the murders. And I'm bringing all these things up because it's really giving you an idea of what their family life was like, but then things kind of maybe leading up to what happened, okay? And then we can all decide what we think happened. Okay. So Abby and Emma had been away, and they came back a week before the murders. And then it was a few days before the murders that the whole family had gotten sick, and Abby was convinced that they had been poisoned by one of Andrew's enemies. Okay. The morning of the murders, Andrew, Abby, Lizzie, and an uncle named John Morse, and let's just call her Maggie because that's what Lizzie wanted, were all in the home. They were all present. Okay. Andrew and John went to the sitting room. They chatted there for about an hour. Then John left. He was going to go buy some oxen and then stop by to see a niece for a little bit. And he planned on being back to the Borden home around noontime. Andrew left and went on a walk, his morning walk, around 9 a.m. Abby went upstairs around 9 to 10:30, they think, to go up and pick up, make some beds, do things like this. Even though this was a normal chore for Emma and Lizzie to do, Abby was doing it. Okay. Andrew returned from his walk around 10:30 a.m. and he could not open the front door with his key, which is very interesting to me. So he had to knock on his front door, and the maid Maggie came, and she said that the door had been jammed, which is very odd, right? Why was the door jammed? And in the moment that she opened this jammed front door for Andrew, she says that she could hear Lizzie laughing from upstairs. And when we later look at the timeline, they think that Abby was already dead at this time. And Lizzie would be on the same floor that Abby's body is later found, clearly would have been able to be seen by anyone on that floor. So it's really creepy to think that Andrew can't get in the house. Maggie says the door is jammed. And then we hear this creepy Lizzie laughing from upstairs. Okay. So shit. All in mind. Lizzie later tells police that when Andrew comes in, she's such a nice daughter that when he sits down, she takes off his boots and puts on his slippers. And then he lays on the sofa for a nap. But if we see in the pictures later, he is still wearing his boots when his murdered body is found. Okay. Around this time, Lizzie had gone to Maggie and told her about an amazing sale going on at a store, and she should definitely go check it out right now. And Maggie said, that sounds great. Love a sale girl, but I don't feel so great. I need to lay down for a little bit. So she actually lays down to take a nap. Okay. She says that around 11:10 a.m., she hears Lizzie calling out for her. She's saying, Maggie, come quick. Father is dead. Somebody came in and killed him.
Oh,
Okay.
jeez. Because that's
not
what you say.
suspicious at all, Lizzie.
Yeah, that's what you say. Somebody
Right.
came in and murdered him.
He was murdered. I know it. Andrew was slumped on the couch. He had been hit 10 to 11 times with a hatchet or axe type tool, and one of his eyeballs was actually split in two. The family physician, Dr. Bowen, came across from his home, and he actually lived just right across the street from the Borden. So he came over and he ended up finding Abby's body also. So Lizzie only talked about finding the father's body. She claims she thought Abby wasn't home, that she had left a note saying that she was going to go out and be back, but police never found a note that Abby left. And so that also looks very, very suspicious. Okay. So after the bodies are found, police are immediately suspicious of Lizzie because she does not seem upset at all, that she's very stoic and very matter of fact, right? When she's talking to them. So something I would like to say at this point is everyone grieves differently. And she might have just been in a state of shock. And I don't think you can judge people, right, in those moments. Right. You never know how someone's going to react, right? Mm-hmm. But this immediately makes them suspicious because she's not losing her mind like all women do all the time. Okay. But her version of what happened is very inconsistent. And this is a major part of this investigation. Lizzie told the police that she had been in the barn during the murders, that she had gone in there to eat some pears by herself, and that she was in the barn loft for about 20 to 30 minutes. Now, please remember that Andrew is very, very frugal. And even though he could have, he didn't put in insulation in the barn. So the barn was really, really hot. And this was in August. And so the police had a hard time believing that, you know, in a woman's dress with 1 million layers, that she would go and be in the heat of the day in the barn for about 30 minutes. They had a hard time believing that. Okay.
Right.
So the police searched the barn and they say that they find no evidence of her being in the loft, that none of the dust or anything is disturbed. So they're not believing Lizzie. Okay. One of the girls' friends, Alice Russell, came to stay with the women after the murders for support, right? And she said that the morning after Lizzie is officially named a suspect, that she walked in and Lizzie was burning a dress in the stove. She said, hey girl, hey, why are you burning this really nice dress, girl? Like, I guess this was a blue dress and it was a very nice dress. And she was like, can't we just put some like hydrogen peroxide on that shit? What's happening? And Lizzie said she got paint all over it. She couldn't get it out. And the only thing she could do with it is burn it. Okay. Very suspicious, Liz. Come on, girl. Before the trial ever happens, Lizzie is said to be very erratic and she couldn't keep her story straight. She was all over the place. You can read about it. Her story changes 1 million times as to what happened that day. It really doesn't even make sense. The police said that they tried everything they could to get her to confess, but she never did. And I'm wondering, what did they do to try to get her to confess? That's a scary thought. What did you do, police? But it didn't work. She did not confess to them. On August 6th, this was 2 days after the murders, the police went through the house. They checked all the women's clothing for any blood, and they took a hatchet that they had found, and this could be the possible murder weapon, okay? The police later informed Lizzie that day that she was their suspect for the murders. And she was like, all right, cool. Thanks for letting me know. Cool beans. One of the times she was asked a question and she was saying like, no, it was really quiet in the house. I didn't hear anything. And then another time she said, well, maybe I heard a groan, but I'm not sure. But it scared me when I heard the groan, but maybe I didn't hear a groan, so it was nothing. So stuff like that, right? She's just all over the place. And I want to say that while this district attorney was questioning her, she did ask for a lawyer and refused a lawyer.
Ooh.
Okay, all right. So she was denied a lawyer and she was questioned for 3 days. She's out of it. She's not getting represented. It's a hot mess. She's not making sense. And then she's arrested and taken to jail by the DA. Okay. So this trial takes place in June 1893, and they said it was a circus. I'm sure that if this trial took place today, it would be all on the TV. We would be able to watch it. It would be a thing. At one point in the trial, Andrew and Abby's heads, decapitated heads, are brought into the courtroom as evidence, and Lizzie sees them and immediately faints. It's a whole drama. It's a whole, and she's fallen to the floor. Oh my God, the heads. It's a whole thing. The bodies had been checked. Their stomach contents were checked for the prussic acid. The prosecutors were really hoping something like that would come back, really help out their case against Lizzie. But it was ruled that they all just had food poisoning. So at this time, they would have been able to afford indoor refrigeration. But again, Andrew was very frugal. So maybe they didn't, and food poisoning happened because of that. Okay. So on the defense side, they had some witnesses that were neighbors, and a lot of the neighbors said that around 11, they did see a strange man outside the Borden home watching the home. So who is this man? Why is he there? Is he this worker that Andrew didn't pay for 2 weeks? And he's the one that did it. So they're definitely trying to stir it away from Lizzie. Okay.
Right.
So the police had said that they had checked the barn loft and said that it was undisturbed. And that's how they knew Lizzie was lying, that she wasn't in the loft. But then the defense, which I think is brilliant, brought in a plumber and a contractor that had been working in the barn 2 days before. And they said, how can you say it was undisturbed when these men were working there? Like, gotcha, prosecution. It was a whole moment, right? So the state witnesses contradicted each other. And so that looked really bad. One of the witnesses would say, well, one of the policemen would say, oh yeah, we found that hatchet handle and then the top of it was found nearby. And then another one said, no, we just found the top of it. We never found the handle. So they were not making themselves look real good. It didn't look very professional. It was bad. Okay. It was so bad. The axe that they had found, the top of it had no blood on it, and the handle was never recovered. They could not find the handle. The timeline was also pretty sketched because they said with the way that people came in and out of the home, was that enough time for Lizzie to do these murders and then clean up, right? Change her clothing, get rid of the weapon, clean up any blood that would have been on objects. They don't feel like Lizzie could have done all that in that amount of time. So all of this is very suspicious. Maggie did testify at the trial. She said that she had finished cleaning the parlor in the morning and then went upstairs to air out linens, which is so 1892 of her to do, honestly. And she said that around 11 a.m., Lizzie and Andrew were downstairs and that she had heard the door close. So she thought, oh, Lizzie went out to the barn around that time, that she wasn't even in the home and Andrew was sleeping. And this testimony definitely helped Lizzie's case. Okay. Emma also testified. She said Lizzie would never do this. She was very close to their father and that their father really loved Lizzie. So there's no way she could do it. So June 14th, the judges agreed that the jury would not hear from Eli Bentz, the grocer who said she had been in 24 hours before asking for this poison. Okay. So judges ruled jury will not hear from this. Okay. I think it would have been good for them to hear that. That is very suspicious that she's looking for something like that 24 hours before they're murdered. Anyway, so that was thrown out. Jury's not going to hear it. So this trial lasted 15 days and this jury came back after an hour and a half with the verdict. They left the courtroom, they ate their sandwiches, and then they went back inside.
They just had lunch.
They had their lunch, their last free lunch. They went back inside and they said, not guilty, right? They found her not guilty.
Oh, bananas.
Laziness, crazy.
Oh my God.
Yes. So years later on Bridget Sullivan's deathbed, Maggie, she tells her sister that she needs to get this off her chest and confess before she dies. And what she says is that Lizzie didn't actually leave. She didn't actually hear the door and Lizzie go out to the barn, that she did hear Lizzie on the stairs. She does think that Lizzie did this and that she feared that she would go to hell because she lied on the stand in this trial, but she was so worried that they would hang Lizzie. And so she lied. Okay.
Oh, no.
Yes. Yes. So crazy. So then an author wrote a book. Ed McBain said that Bridget and Lizzie, or Maggie and Lizzie, were lovers. They were lesbian lovers and that they wanted this to happen. So that's also a plot twist, something that, I saw over and over again. So rumors lasted all of Lizzie's life that she was a lesbian, of course. Of course, at this time, being a lesbian was not going to be accepted. Okay. Right. And so maybe that's why she didn't get married. I don't know, but that definitely followed her around. A lot of people said that. After the trial, Maggie got married. So I don't know if she was a lesbian. I don't know if she had this affair with Lizzie, if that's all just made up. We don't know. We don't have facts on that. After the murders, Lizzie would have these lavish parties, and it was said that she did have like lesbian lovers, at these parties. And it got to the point where her sister Emma got really upset with Lizzie in the way that she was acting and moved out, and they never spoke to each other again, which is so sad. They're sisters. They've been through this terrible thing. They don't talk to each other ever again. And then Lizzie dies of pneumonia in 1927 at 66 years old. And 9 days after Lizzie dies, Emma dies. And they are buried next to each other in the cemetery.
So crazy. Wow. I totally got chills.
And that is the true crime. Lizzie Borden.
I love it. Hey, Red, what was the name of that author again that wrote that book?
Ed McBain. I think I my writing is so
Okay.
scribbly, but I think it says Ed McBain. I can also look it up and send it to you too.
Well, I have a book and it's called Lizzie, but it's not written by that guy. And it's the whole, it's a novel, and it's based on what if her and Bridget did have a sexual relationship.
Right.
And it's so good. I read it years ago, and then I found it at like a garage sale or something, so I had to buy it. So I have it. There's a movie that you can watch on, I believe it's Amazon. It's through Shudder. So you either have to have a subscription to Shudder or do like the 7-day trial or whatever. But it's called Lizzie. It's based on that book. Kristen Stewart plays Maggie or Bridget, and it is based on the full like lesbian lover thing. And there's so many things that they twist around. So the birds that Lizzie loved, and Andrew was like, these are pests, I'm going to kill them. Well, he snuck up and saw Lizzie and Bridget getting it on in the barn. And got pissed because he's like, no daughter of mine is going to be a lesbian. And then he went down and grabbed the hatchet, and she actually kept these birds in the movie as pets, and they were in like a cage, and he literally pulled one out at a time and cut its head off, like in spite. But you guys got to watch it. It's such a great movie. I loved it so much. And one thing also that you didn't mention, Red, is they think if she did it, they think she did it in the nude. That's why she didn't have any blood on her clothes. So they think she did totally. And then, she could just wipe her face and her hands. She could have been covered in total blood underneath her clothes, and you would have never known it.
Right. But she did burn a dress.
Yeah. It's so crazy,
Crazy.
It's so crazy. Yeah. And they say that she's the, or I should say, O.J. Simpson is the Lizzie Borden of the 20th century, because it's totally true. She was acquitted for something that was there in black and white, that she freaking did it. It's so bananas.
Crazy town, man.
I know.
It was fun. It was fun to look into.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the haunted part. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's such a good one.
Yes. Okay, total bucket list. We got to go do this. So today it's a bed and breakfast. They painted it this ominous, like dark gray and green paint. It stands out on the block. You can't miss it. I would love to stay there. So you can do so many things in this home. So bananas. I want to do it. But let's get into the little haunting. So there's so much shit that happens in this property that, of course, there has to be some type of, number one, residual, but also intelligent hauntings, because 2 people's lives were taken, and obviously it was done in malice because they were hit so many times. Like once or twice they're dead, but you got to do it like another 10 or 15, whatever. But this wasn't the only death in this home. There was a little home right next door, about 50 years prior, that was a descendant of Andrew, and her name was Eliza Darlene Borden. So she had married a great uncle of Andrew, and she went bananas one day, and she took her 3 children and she threw them down the well in this home.
What?
Yeah. And then, thinking that all the children were deceased, she went upstairs, took her husband's straight razor and slit her throat.
No,
Okay.
I did not know this.
Yes.
Oh, I feel sick.
One of the children did survive.
Oh my goodness.
But in that same cemetery, she is buried there along with her children. So that was not on the property, but that had to have stirred some shit up too, you guys. Yeah, she had gone bananas, and that's what she decided to do. And the way she did it was absolutely horrible. So what they say is 2 rooms are the main hauntings. So the hauntings are based on 2 of the rooms. The family parlor, which is where Andrew was killed, and and then the family guest room where Abby was killed. Now today that's called the John Morse room, which is the uncle, because that's where he was staying at the time. So those are the 2 rooms. So if you want to stay there overnight, you can request the John Morse room or Abby's room, or not Abby, Lizzie's room or Emma's room or whatever. So some of the things that happens here. When you enter the home, you automatically get an overwhelming feeling of sadness. I get that because that shit is in the walls. That shit's coming at you like, like hard, it's just like, I could just
Can I
feel it. Yeah.
share something?
Yeah.
There's been like one time in my life that I felt that when I went to a spot more than any other time in my life. When I went to Bodie up in Northern California, my family went to this ghost town, right? It was a gold mining town, abandoned. All this shady stuff happened there, but they have a cemetery up on the hill, and it's of children. It is a children, baby cemetery. Okay. So me and my son are walking through, and I felt so much dread and sickness and just negativeness that we had to leave. We just had to go. I've never felt like that in a spot in my entire life. So imagine going into this home and just getting like hit with it, right?
And that's just how people say
negative energy.
It's like you're walking through water. It's like that thickness, and it's just like you automatically start feeling really sad. That's so sad to me. So of course there's tour guides. You can go in with a tour guide. They walk around, they tell the story and everything. I think that's totally fun too, because you get to hear the story that Red just told you and actually be in the room and see all the furniture. It's almost all original furniture in there, except for the couch.
Wow.
Andrew's couch is not the couch. Unfortunately, that bums me out. I wish it was, but you could see right in the spot where like they died. It's so morbid, but it's so fascinating to me. So one of tour guides report being touched all the time. She gets touched. And then others report having their clothes tugged on, like as if a little child is down below and they're tagging either on their like knee. Yeah, that's scary. So there's full-bodied apparitions. Andrew is seen, Abby is seen, and Lizzie is seen. Now, I can see Andrew and Abby being seen residually because basically their murder was implanted into the walls. Same thing with Lizzie. There's strange mists that pop up all over the house. They hear whispering in their ears, so they can just be standing anywhere and someone will whisper in their ears. And then in the exact spots, so you stand in the spot where Abby was killed, or if you sit on the couch where Andrew, you feel like despair, and you feel sadness and depression. And then sometimes people feel like they're getting pushed down in that spot. And I can see how that would be with Abby, but I started thinking, what if Andrew did see her coming? What if because how his legs were, he wasn't nap. Why would you nap that way? You know what I mean?
Right. In the picture, what you're talking is about is that his legs are turned like off the sofa. So, you're taking a nap, your legs are up on a sofa. That's not how his body is found.
No.
And they were saying, well, he was sleeping. Well, maybe.
Why would you sleep that way? So I'm thinking he did see her coming. He went to stand up and she got him. So there's just so much. I mean, I would love, I'm sure it has been where modern day people have gone in and redid the investigation and figured out, but you'll never know. You'll never know really what happened.
And we'll never really know about Maggie or Bridget's relationship with Lizzie.
Right. So you hear children's laughter coming from the attic. So maybe that's the other Borden children. And there's a folk tale about it that the spirits actually can be bribed so that they won't bother you. So I think they might tell people this, hey, if you don't want to be bothered by the spirits tonight, if you bribe them, they will leave you alone. So you can place a few coins on Andrew's bureau and he'll leave you alone. And if you leave toys up near the attic, they'll leave you alone too. They won't
So
bother
would you bribe the ghosts, or
Hell
do you
no.
want to be bothered?
I want to see all of those. Yeah,
Ugh.
no. But you know what? You can also leave toys and then watch them and see if maybe the toys start getting played with, because that would be
Right.
freaky, you
And then
know?
my knees would immediately give out, and I would have to crawl down the stairs and out of the house. Yeah, fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure most haunted hotels and places, they have like a guest book that you can write in like your experiences. I'm hoping that they have something like this, because guests have claimed that during the middle of the night, their covers have been pulled off of them, like totally entirely off the bed, and their things go missing. And then they're like, they go to a different spot and they're like, oh, hey, I was looking for that. And they know they didn't put that there. So
Isn't that something that happens at the Queen Mary, Timo, where people's sheets are pulled off their bed?
Oh,
right?
yes. They
That's
like to do, they like to do that a lot.
So rude. That is so rude.
And at the Perrin family haunting, where The Conjuring, the little girls would have their covers pulled off all the time too. It's so creepy. The floors creak all the time. It's an old house. Yeah, I get it. Footsteps on the floors above, you hear sometimes. You hear footsteps on the stairs. You know, the usual lights, lights turning on and off. Sometimes they see shadow figures standing in the doorways. That's pretty creepy. And then they have phantom smells of floral perfume. We usually see that in these, like the 1800s, late 1800s, 1900s. In these type of hauntings, you usually have those disembodied, floral perfume smells. And there's so many EVPs. And then they also hear disembodied voices, which those are voices that you actually hear with your own ear, and EVPs are caught like on a recording device that you don't hear with your actual ear.
What kind of things have been heard?
I'll come to that, but
the birds, save my birds. Anything like that?
The giggles, for sure. They hear the disembodied, they hear EVPs of the giggles, and there are some things that you hear too, and I'll tell you that in a second. The apparition of Andrew seen walking up and down the stairs sometimes. There is a dark figure that stands in the corner of the parlor. That's fucking freaky. And then sometimes if you talk to Andrew, he will answer you through EVP in a rough and aggressive tone. So that's how he used to be in life. So he does answer people sometimes in that type of voice. Abby is seen in the John Morse room. They show her sometimes laying on the bed, or they see her, but they show her. They see her. Yeah, they see her sometimes laying on the bed, and you walk in and you can see an indentation, like if someone is there in the bed, which is so creepy. Sometimes they hear disembodied cries and moans. That's creepy. And sometimes they see an older, larger woman with gray hair just going about her business around the house. I don't know who that could be.
Why couldn't it be Lizzie? She lived there until she died.
She did not live there until she died. And I
thought she did.
No, I'll tell you that in a minute.
She lived in Fall River until she died. You're right.
She bought her and her sister bought a huge mansion, and they called it Maplecroft, and it was a town over, and it was a big, huge, beautiful home. And one of my favorite shows, Kindred Spirits, they did an investigation of that house, and yes, Lizzie is there. And they came up with a lot of stuff, and I totally love that show.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They see Bridget going around her business, washing clothes, cleaning the
Airing
house.
linens.
So sad that she's still doing that in death.
Yeah, my nightmare.
One of the scariest EVPs that they caught here, you could hear Lizzie screaming, "Come quick!"
Oh, shit.
Like when she was calling Bridget, "Come quick. Somebody came into the house and walked up in the stairs and went into the parlor, and then they killed Father."
Oh my God. Crazy.
I know, right?
Had nothing to do with it.
I swear I was in the barn eating pears.
I was eating the pears. Oh my gosh.
there is an apparition of a little kitty cat that's seen, and you can hear it meowing, and sometimes it brushes up on your legs. And they say supposedly that she did have a pet cat that her dad ended up beheading because he was pissed off at her. Yeah.
He was a
So
fucker, huh?
he was a prick.
least
Yeah.
black man in town.
Wow.
2 young children are seen, and it looks like they are like playing with, like playing games. And then the EVPs are caught, 2 children, and it sounds like they're just laughing and having a good time and playing with each other, which is so scary because 2 of the 3 children did die when their mother threw them down the well. So that would totally make sense.
That's awful.
Okay, so this bed and breakfast, they have a list of things that you can do if you go there, and I want to do them all. They offer overnight accommodations. Yes, number 1. Psychic mediums will come in and do like a seance with you. There's an overnight ghost hunt, and this is all done through Ghost Hunts USA. I guess they have some special deal with the owners of this home. So, I would love to do that too. They provide all the equipment. You don't need to do anything. Then they give you free time to explore the house on your own. Holy shit. They offer you refreshments and breakfast in the morning, and it runs $2.99 per night per 2 guests. So that's a deal.
Awesome. Yes, it's a deal. You know, it's funny. I might say that. Yeah, I'm down. Let's do this. Like, say that. In the moment I'm there, I'm like shooting bricks. Because let me tell you, when I went to the Queen Mary, I was all about it until I got there, and then I was like,
I think I'd be too scared.
It's scary.
I think I might be that way too, Dre. I talk a lot of shit. Oh, I'd be brave and this and that. But if I went to a real crazy haunted place and something crazy happened to me, I think I'd pee my pants. Like,
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I'd be pissing my pants. I'd have to wear a diaper during our investigation.
We can all wear Depends because I don't want to stop.
I know. So, I want to do it. I just am scared shitless. That's all.
Yeah, it's all right. We're going to do it. Okay. So of course I had to watch Ghost Adventures, Zak's investigation of when he went to the Lizzie Borden house. Come on. So this was in season 5. So Nick is still with them. So I'm loving it. So of course, the first thing that Zak says is, was there some demonic force that grabbed those hands like a puppet? Of course. So he obviously has to go the whole demonic route, and there was some type of demon that forced Lizzie to do this.
Forced Lizzie to do it. Sure.
Right.
Sure.
This is one of the most haunted homes in the New England area. So they're going to do their little investigation. They're so excited.
So crazy. Oh my God.
And he keeps on talking about the dark energy. This house has a dark energy about it, this dark energy. So they show him in the basement. He's with 2 dudes. They're paranormal investigators. And one says that they saw they were doing an investigation, and one of the women that was with them started getting scratched. So one of them's like, hey, why don't you pick on somebody your own size? And then I guess he was thrown up against the wall like this. So
this is hot.
Like, yeah, I'm like, like if you're going to get arrested and you have to put your hands.
Yeah, arrested.
So he's up against like this. And I guess he had marks on his arms and still like someone pushed him up against the wall. So that's kind of trippy.
Yeah.
And he does it. He shows it with Aaron, poor Aaron. He like throws Aaron up against the wall, and Aaron's like, what the fuck? It's so hilarious. Oh my God. Then Zak interviews Eleanor. Eleanor is a tour guide. She said, I hate going in the basement. I will never go in the basement again. One time I went down there to get supplies, and as I'm walking up the steps, I could hear footsteps following me. Stop. I could hear them, and then they would stop, and then I would continue. And she's like, I turned around real slow to look behind me. Nobody was there. She said, I ran up the stairs, and I will never, ever, ever go down in the basement ever again.
Basements are terrifying, even if they're not.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
I always think of Blair Witch. You know what I mean? You never know what shit's gonna happen in a
Oh,
basement.
uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Next person he interviews is Liz. Liz is a psychic medium. She's one of the ones that does the seances in the home. And she said that this one time she started getting like really dizzy and really sick. And then the people around in the seance, their faces started morphing into like weird faces, and it got all fuzzy. And then she didn't know where she was, and she didn't know what the hell was going on. And then like snap, she was back and it was all normal. So
Was she
she's like,
high?
Weird.
Was she on
I don't
drugs?
know.
I don't
Maybe.
know.
Maybe a little bit.
A little bit of drugs for this seance today.
Yeah. So the two guys that were down in the basement, they said they had a camera upstairs in one of the rooms, and they had it facing the bed, and they had a few people with them, and they're just walking around doing an investigation. And they come into that room and they notice that the camera was now facing like if it went like 90 degrees to the side. So it was totally turned around, and it was on a tripod. So you could hear them go, hey, move the camera. Did one of you guys move the camera? Why is the camera that way? And they're like, no, we didn't move the camera. So they move it back. And the reason why they know is because they went back and watched the film. And the film is the camera gets picked up and totally turns to the left.
Oh my God.
So then you can see them in there saying, who moved the camera, whatever. So you can see her turn the camera back down and put it down. She literally walks away like 2 feet, and it fucking does it again with all of them in the room.
That's crazy.
Gosh,
Yeah, that's crazy.
And you can hear her go, it happened again. Look at it. And they're like, holy shit. Yeah. So now they're in Abby's room. And he's interviewing this cute little girl. She has to be like 13 or 14. Her name is Kat Woods. And her dad is the owner. Her family's the owner of the home. And she said she was on a tour. She was just walking around with the tour people. And she noticed that there was a necklace on the dresser. She was going like closer just to take a look at the pendant. And she said she felt someone grab her ear and pull it back. Like in the old days when they would like scold a child and they would yank their ear to get and come. She said that's what she felt. She felt like someone was tapping her ear and telling her, get away from there. Don't touch my things. So they start the lockdown. Zach goes, the sun has descended on the Fall River, Massachusetts home, and we're getting ready to get locked down in the Lizzie Borden Inn. And I was like, okay, here we go, Zach. So they go in, they start doing their little investigation. Let's see. They have a REM pod. A REM pod basically beeps, it lights up. So they put that in the middle of the floor. If anything comes near it, it starts beeping. It's doing that thing every once in a while. He's telling it, are you a male or you're a female? Beep once if you're a male, beep twice if you're a female. And it's answering him. It's going the way he's asking. So they find out that it's a female, and he's like, are you Lizzie? And then it just kind of like goes dead. It doesn't really go anywhere from there. And then they pull out the digital recorder, and they're going to do some EVPs. So Zach's like, are you here? Can you talk to me, please? And then all of a sudden the room gets freezing cold. And then one of their cameras starts shaking and doing some weird stuff. They couldn't figure out what that was. And then they bring in poor Liz and Eleanor, and they're doing a seance. It's very quiet, nothing's going on, but they did catch an EVP that said something like, keep on killing, keep on killing. Yeah. And then there was another one that said, keep them coming, keep them coming. So I don't know. Yeah, it said that plain as day, but I don't know what that would mean. But then they bring out the spirit box. Now you can't mess with the spirit box. The spirit box, it deals with radio frequencies, special radio waves. So basically you could hear radio on there, but supposedly spirits can use those waves to actually speak through the spirit box. And one thing that it comes up, it says they're all together. Okay, that's pretty spooky. That's pretty scary. And then it goes, thank you, Zach. And it says that plain as day. Yeah. And more than once when they go to these places, the ghost really know who Zach is. So I don't know
They
how much
watch
that
his
is true.
show,
I know. They
prepare for
always
the
talk to Zach.
taping. Yeah,
You're
okay.
popular, Zach.
So popular.
And so they're doing a little bit more of that, and they're kind of getting like, they get Abby, they get Borden, and you can really hear those. And I don't know, I kind of get, that's kind of freaky that you get Abby and you get Borden, and then he asks Andrew, "Are you here?" And it says maybe, and then Zach says, "Can you tell me who attacks people here?" And it does say plain as day, Lizzie. And that was trippy. Yeah.
Shit. Case closed.
Yeah. So
Wow.
the seance is over. Liz and Eleanor leave. They start talking more through the spirit box. They hear someone swearing. They hear someone say, "Go ahead and cry." One of the scary things, it says, one of the other theories is that the reason why Lizzie killed her father was because he was molesting her and Emma their whole life. And then he would also go up and have relations with all of their maids. So he did that with Bridget. And that's what basically, she's like, basically, you can do it to me, but you can't do it to my girlfriend. And that's what fueled her hatred for her father. So they say, "Did you have relations with Lizzie?" No lie, the thing says dirty whore. So fucking scary.
Oh,
So much shade in the afterlife, man. Dirty
So
whore.
much.
That is
crazy.
rude.
Everybody starts to get sick at this point. They end the investigation. And then, of course, at the end, Zach does his little ending speech where he's like, "Was it demonic forces, or was it da-da-da-da?" You know, whatever. And then it ends there. But yeah, so there's the episode of Ghost Adventures with the Lizzie Borden house. But
Yeah.
I can say some of the things are fabricated with that show, but then they actually do catch some really cool stuff that it's going to take a lot for them to fake that stuff. But like, I'm like, come on, guys. And then at the very end, when they get the Lizzie, Borden, Abby, and Dirty Whore, come on, those are like,
Yeah.
just bananas.
That's crazy.
Ooh,
I've always
so
wanted
scary.
a no shit medium to go to these places and just like, I know there are several, but like to see what the real consensus is, right?
Yeah.
Like really see what's up.
No one
You know,
knows
not somebody-
what really happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one knows that Abby or Lizzie was molested by her dad, but you have to look at every aspect of it. Like, why would this girl who loved her father and was a Sunday school teacher, why would she just one day hack her father to pieces, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd like to think of it that story. I'd like to think that maybe she was in love with Bridget and she wanted to protect her, and, you know, maybe it's some love story.
Yeah, real love story.
That's a real love story there.
Oh my gosh. Good
So there's
job.
our crossover. Yay!
Hey, that was so
Collaborate
good.
and listen. Okay.
Oh, so fun. So fun. I love that story. If you guys want to borrow my book, you guys can. I think I'm going to reread it because it's such a good book.
Yeah, it's really good. I was super obsessed. Like Juan and I watched the one with Christina Ricci for,
Yes.
we watched that. And we were so like hooked. We were like, no, we want more. Like you cannot get enough. And so we just kept looking for like more shows and more things to look at, you know?
Red, how you were talking about how Lizzie and Emma were like total spinsters and how they weren't like really good looking. They were kind of plain looking. They get Christina Ricci. Come on, Christina Ricci to play Lizzie Borden. Come on, like one of the hottest chicks ever, you know?
And story.
That whole storyline was, she fucking did it, and she was mischievous and she was a bitch, and you know, she was out to get everybody. And I love that show too, because it totally took it to another aspect. Like, you're gonna fuck with me, yeah, I'm gonna kill you too, bitch. Like, that's how her attitude was, you know?
Yeah,
I loved it.
Okay, so I don't know if you mentioned this, but, and I apologize if you mentioned it today, but I had some shit going on, like I don't know if you guys know. So it was like parts where I was like not listening because my family is just there. I love them so much. But in the show with Christina Ricci, there was there was like a baby's body, like the skeletal remains of a baby. You know, that
goes back to one of the theories that yes, she was molested by her father and she conceived the child. Yeah, and she murdered it and buried, and she murdered it and buried it in their garden or wherever it was. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, bananas.
That is so crazy. That really bothered me, that part. Just knowing that they had this little baby skeleton in the, you know, in a chest or whatever in their.
That's right. She kept it in the back. Attic.
They had it. Yeah,
in a shed or something.
They tried to use it against her, right? They like held that as collateral, like, well, you know, I'm going to show this, and then you're never going to get married ever. You know, nobody's ever going to want you. Yeah.
Gross. Ew.
Yeah. And not Lizzie, her sister. It was her sister's baby.
Yeah. And then there was, okay. And then there's also a movie that was made, I believe, in the late 70s, early 80s. And it was a whole like historical remake of what might have happened with Lizzie Borden. And that's kind of fun too, because it's back in those days where they did things different. And I can't think of the actress that plays Lizzie, but she's a beautiful redhead. So they made her all purty too, you know.
Always.
I love it. Yeah. Let's mix it up. Let's make her hot. Hear me out.
Know, right?
All right. Are we ready for badass
story of the week?
Give us a badassness, honey.
I have a good badass. You guys are going to love it. I actually got really like teary-eyed when it's very short, but man.
Okay.
It's so sweet. It's super, super sweet, guys. So it's another Halloween. Yay. I love Halloween. I love it. So we have a 14-year-old boy by the name of Race Arbon. And he's trick-or-treating with his buddies. You know, he's out there trick-or-treating. And there's actually, you know, in today's day and age, we've got all these Ring doorbells. So you know what's happening at your front yard all the time, right? So they walk up. There's like these 3 kids. They're walking up to go get more candy from this cauldron or something that somebody just left out, right? Because we do that sometimes. If I'm not home, I'm like, whatever, take one. And I know that some little fucker is going to take them all, right? Well, some little fucker took them all. So when Race and his friends go up to this doorbell or to the door, there's no more left. There's like wrappers, you know, how sad. Boop, boop. So there's 2 girls and then Race, and the 2 girls like peek in, and I think there might've been one left. So the girl takes it and she puts it in her bag. And then he says, he looks in there and he's like, well, do a good deed every day. And then he takes his pillowcase and he empties it into the cauldron.
That's so nice.
I was like, my heart. Oh, Race, you're so awesome. If
Halloween
that wasn't
badass.
enough, yes. If that wasn't enough, this Ring video went viral. Okay. Everybody figured out who the boy was, and a reporter went out and reached out to him. And the mom was like, you know, I couldn't be more proud. He's like such an awesome kid. It got 7,000 views on Facebook like that year, which probably gotten more by now, right? So when they approached him about it, he said, I don't want anyone to repay me, because everybody wanted to give him candy. And he's like, please, please don't try to repay me for this. I want to pay it forward. And in the way that I want you to do that is to go to my friend's GoFundMe. He is looking for a seizure dog. This little boy by the name of Isaac was having seizures. He has like a syndrome. And this boy, Ray, said, go put that money toward my friend Isaac.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, it's so sweet. So
Wow.
Isaac was like, yes, Isaac was on hospice. He has a GoFundMe page. Poor kid has had seizures like, you know, his whole life. It's really sad. All he wants is a seizure dog. He was on hospice, probably not looking for much more life to live, unfortunately. But guess what? Isaac's still alive.
Oh, I love that.
It's such a good story.
Is it because he got a doggy and then like it gave him a will to like try?
Yeah, it might be. I read a little bit about Isaac. He was like, I want to say he was about 11 years old, still living in or sleeping in his parents' bed because they had to keep track of his seizures so much. So this seizure dog was able to help him sleep in his own room, you know, and they were able to catch the seizures more quickly. So it's cool. Such a great story. And this little boy, Reese, like just from, you know, just being a giver, you know, like giving all his candy. I mean, what kid doesn't want candy on Halloween? And he was like, do a good deed every day.
I love it.
Yeah, you know, you'd be surprised. Jimmy Kimmel does the I ate my kids' candy on Halloween, where he challenged you to videotape yourself telling your kids you got real hungry. And some of the kids are little pricks, but there's more. Like these little kids talk to their parents that way, like so bananas. But there's some of them that goes, it's okay, I forgive you.
It's okay.
I know. Oh, those ones make me cry so much. Because my kids would be the one like, fuck you, Mom. Thanks for eating my candy, Mom.
I think if I did that to Aurora, she would cry.
Yeah. There was one little kid that's like, I worked so hard to get that candy.
I love it.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it this year and see what happens. Okay.
Do it.
Yes,
That'll be awesome.
Do it.
Yes.
Because they're so little, she's so little. It'll work. Whatever reaction she gives will be super genuine.
It'll be very genuine and maybe haunt her for the rest of her life.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
That one and the Christmas presents too, like opening like the cereal box to cereal.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I love it.
Man, I feel sorry for my kids.
No, I love it. Good story. I loved it. I love it, badass. Just leaves you feeling so happy and warm inside.
Right.
Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, all the fun things. You can email us at handcuffsandsage@gmail.com. We have our website, handcuffsandsagepodcast.com, and check out our Patreon page. If you support us, you get fun little goodies. Make sure to leave a review on iTunes. And when you do that, you get your name entered in our Halloween raffle. We're raffling off a cute Halloween bucket filled with goodies right now. So make sure to leave a review. Cool. Yeah, have your friend leave a review, get even more entries in the raffle. We enjoy doing the podcast, and it means a lot when everyone reaches out to us and supports us. It's just fantastic. And remember, we do what we want.
Woo! Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. See ya.
Bye. Handcuffs and Sage is hosted by Red, Timo, and Trey in a shitty guest room in Los Angeles.
Theme music is Leave Now by We Are Wasted. Cover art done by Megan Winchester.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Show us some love on iTunes. Be a badass and do what you want. Until next time.